Welcome, Suzanne. How do you feel today?
Thank you. I'm feeling good.
Okay.
A bit nervous. It's
Mhm.
my first podcast, I would say,
Okay.
and I'm feeling very good. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure. I'm so glad you came to Poitiers for this. So we met because you're the roommate of a very good friend of mine who's also coming to the podcast later.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
that's
gonna
so
talk
cool.
about energy.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you're from Brazil
Yes.
and you're a researcher in combustion.
Yeah.
And you've done some social work too. And now you're working on a special project. So we're gonna discuss this,
Yes.
as well as mental health and the difficulties of the path of an activist and someone working for sustainability. So that's a lot of subjects to cover.
Oof.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here today.
Thank you.
So we're gonna go ahead and start with your research.
Okay.
So you studied engineering in Brazil?
Yeah. I studied chemistry engineering.
Chemistry engineering.
First started as every chemistry engineer. I wanted to work with petroleum, naive.
Okay.
But then somewhere in between, I realized that the harmful effects of the petroleum industry, and I decided to do a course correct.
Okay.
And go to do something about it. To look to do something that was completely in the other way around.
Okay. Can you
So
explain really briefly why petroleum is was not good for you?
for me,
And for
well,
for someone who doesn't know anything about climate and the fossil
okay.
fuels industry.
Well, nowadays, if we look, everything we use, everything, our lives, it's petroleum. Petroleum based. And for me at the time, I was like super excited because there was all this talk, this culture of we have fossil fuels, we're going to go somewhere, build a big machine and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I was studying some case of disease, health disease, heart disease, but from pollution, air pollution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wait a minute, but why? Why this is so this rate is so big? What is happening here? And then I figured out was pollution emission from cars, mainly transports.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So, and the link with petroleum is that we are burning it inside the cars.
exactly. And the thing is, yeah, we burn fossil fuels,
Mm-hmm.
and these fossil fuels, it's incomplete combustion we call.
Mm-hmm.
This incomplete combustion, it doesn't mean it means that at the end we don't have only CO2 and water vapor. We have other things too.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is soot,
Mm-hmm.
the black smoke
Mm-hmm.
that we
So
see.
it's like the dust, black dust that you
Exactly,
can
that black
see
dust that we see everywhere. We
when
can
there's
have
a pollution
exactly. We also
peak.
can see in the buildings when the building is very
Yes.
gray, very black,
That's
blackish.
from
Yeah, that is from soot. That is from actually
incomplete combustion.
incomplete
Okay.
combustion that we call. And we breathe that mix with the air, and we breathe that. And there's a lot of people that have developed heart disease, cardiovascular disease, among others, because they live near industry regions or
Or near
maybe
roads,
near
high
exactly high
roads.
roads,
Mm-hmm.
high
Okay.
roads. So and that touched me very deeply. It's like, wow, this is our way of life. It's killing us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are killing us by doing this. So maybe I want to do something about it. I
Okay.
don't want to be in the part because you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And I didn't want to be part of the problem.
Okay. And so you said there's soot when there's incomplete combustion, and there's also CO2 that comes out.
Yeah.
And so CO2 is a greenhouse gas,
Mhm.
which contributes to climate change as well.
Yes.
So that's a different problem. But you're working specifically on suits. Can you explain briefly your research subject?
Well, my research on suit, I'm not doing anymore, but anyway, all my research on suit was emissions, information and production, and how we can use this in our favor. either to reduce emissions, which I would love
Mhm.
very much, or use this to increase energy efficiency.
Mhm.
Energy efficiency. So looking for the formation process, for the production of these particles, we can find our way around to either reduce increasing fuel efficiency,
Mhm.
or either use this somehow to increase equipment efficiency, the overall combustion efficiency.
Yes, which means using less fossil fuels and
Exactly.
therefore emitting less greenhouse gases.
Exactly. Using, because right now what happens with efficiency, we overall we have 30 to 40% of efficiency
Okay.
in industry, in
the
energy.
industry, okay.
Then we
Sorry, in the energy industry or in the industry in general?
in industry in general,
Okay.
all the equipment, everything, we have
Only 30% efficiency.
yeah, between 30 and 40%,
Mhm.
meaning that we use more fuel, more fossil fuels to have to achieve what we would be the expected.
Okay.
So with high efficiency, we can use less fuels, less fossil fuels in this case, with more energy
Okay.
extraction at the end.
At the end.
We are looking for this, well, we've been looking this whole, I don't know, 100 years for this more efficiency.
Okay. And so you've also started thinking about the social questions when you started working with this great organization called Tito. So can you explain to us?
Yeah, well, the feeling started before Teto. It was I actually got into college because I wanted to do something about it. Society, the society, my community in Brazil, where I lived.
So you lived in Rio, right?
Yeah, Rio. Yeah, I come from Rio. Beaches everywhere. No, but that feeling that go there, get knowledge and use this knowledge to do something about it, to help somehow. And then in college, I met this organization for some friends, and that changed my life. That changed my life. I always have been very concerned about social problems, social issues. Being Black, being a woman, it's of course.
Yes.
Anyway, and then I met this organization. They work with vulnerable communities in Brazil, and the difference in privilege, it's absurd. I didn't know that. Even I knew then, like, okay, they are there, they exist, but I never been there to actually feel how it is. And this organization, the main goal is to empower these communities in order for them to be able to take care of themselves.
Can you give an example of what vulnerability means?
I don't know if you ever heard about favelas. So we are talking about communities that there is no government support.
No government support?
Yeah, no government support.
No housing.
No housing, no
No
water,
medical.
nothing, but very little, very little. We're talking about people, most of them in below the poverty line. So what we would call ghettos. So that these are vulnerable communities. So they have this one of the main activities. It's a house building, emergency houses building. It is an immersion for the voluntary people. The volunteers go there for usually a weekend. And spend the whole weekend there with the community, with the people that live there. And we live like them. Sobriety, we were talking about. Yeah, we live like them. So we don't take showers because we are
Saving
maybe
water.
Yeah, no, because we are 100 people. So from sometimes in this activity, volunteering people, they don't have water for themselves. If we go there and 100, you can imagine 100 people taking a shower. So we live like them for 3 days. Which is nothing compared with their daily lives. So we do this immersion. You can feel, you can see like the difference, and it is funny because not funny, but I don't know, motivating, interesting, because these people that they live there, they are very welcome.
Mhm.
They welcome you. They share
Okay.
with you whatever
Very
they have.
warm and
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Okay.
They're very happy that you're there, that you're working with them, because there's this point too. We are not social workers.
Mhm.
We work with them, not
Okay.
for them.
Yes.
So we build we build the houses, but the family usually that we are building the house to, build the house with us.
Okay. And also you have a tattoo on your arm of a house. Can you
Yeah,
show it
yeah, I do
to the
have.
camera? So that's
Uh,
from the organization.
yeah, because it changed my, I
Your
told you, it
experience.
changed my life in and up to that point. There is me, there is Suzanne before tattoo, and there is Suzanne after tattoo,
Mhm.
because it was a very big change in perspective,
Mhm.
in to realize my privilege, social privilege.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, that's, we really need to do something about it. Inequality, gender inequality, poverty was kind of that hit me like a truck.
Mhm.
And I was super engaged in this organization when I was in Brazil. I used to be a part of the volunteering body, fixed body that was there
Okay.
working. I could see closer the work.
So the administration of the organization.
Yeah. I
Yes. Okay.
was part of a team. I was part of the construction team, and
Okay.
also the diagnostic team that did
Okay.
the surveillance.
Okay. And one thing that you mentioned is that you really liked how they handled things, and instead of going there and being like, "Oh, here is help, take this," they're really more about asking what people need and working with them. So you want to say a
Yeah,
word about that?
yeah, that I love that. I learned that. I think I had that before, but I was not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned this there, and I love it. From time to time, we are going to bump into some organizations that they will have the hero complex. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we here, we came to with help.
Save you.
Yeah, we came to save you.
Mm-hmm.
Here, take the help in position, from
Mhm.
position. And what I really like about tattoo, there is no this imposition thing. They just go there, say, here, we are here. This is what we can do. We would love to work with you, but you
Mhm.
have the choice to
Yes.
to tell us if you want or not to work with us.
Mhm.
If you decide to work with us, we will help you with whatever you need.
But
And
you're making the change.
exactly, with whatever you need, and if we cannot help you, we'll find someone that can. Within the community, they have this council
Mhm.
that it's made up the people that live there. We put a team, a field team there
Mhm.
from volunteering,
Mhm.
just to to
To
help
learn.
them,
Okay.
to help them if they need something. But they have a council, and they do this council with, okay, what do we need this month of the next 6 months.
Okay.
So
So they're self-organizing
exactly,
already, and
exactly.
you're just support. That's
Now, yeah, we help them to create the council and to
Mhm.
bring the
Oh, okay.
topics
Mhm.
they need most.
Mhm.
And based on these needs, we work with them to make happen.
Okay. So you came to France 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so what has that been like for you to be an immigrant? So you're a sort of privileged immigrant. You're here for
Yeah,
research.
exactly.
So what has your experience been?
Well, I chose to come to France.
Mm-hmm.
I came to study, to finish my studies, and it was hard at the beginning because it
Mm-hmm.
was my first time living abroad,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't speak the language at all.
Okay.
Nowadays I can
And now
speak
your
it.
French is great.
Debatable, but anyway, I didn't speak French at all. My English was kind of yeah,
Okay.
debatable. And what hit me hard, it was the bureaucracy for
Okay.
immigrants. The bureaucracy got me
Mhm.
like a truck. It
Have
was hard.
you experienced racism in a different way in France than in
Kind of.
Brazil,
Yeah, well,
or gender differences? Like, does it have a different effect?
I think more gender different than the
Okay.
races.
Mm-hmm.
I think in question of racism, it was the same.
Okay.
It was same level, I guess. Basically, the same things, the same prejudice.
Okay.
But in gender, yeah, gender prejudice was, yeah, I think it was
Stronger in France?
stronger. Yeah, it was a little well.
Also, you're a woman in engineering.
Exactly, because in Brazil, I have I had I have a supervisor. He was very inclusive, very welcome. So I didn't feel that I was put aside,
Okay.
or that I was not being participated
Okay.
where in my environment, my research environment. But here it's very different. It's kind of, you have to battle like a fight like a tiger to just talk.
Yes, that's a good
to
point.
just talk, to just to raise your hand,
Like
say,
in a
yeah,
meeting.
yeah, to put your point across and say,
Okay.
no, I don't agree with this, or no, I just I don't think it is like that, or I have an idea and have your idea not accepted but welcome
And listen to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's this there's this thing that they it's like they, okay, I know what I'm doing. I don't think you're very sure of what you're doing, and there
Okay,
is
yes.
this,
And even though you have the
yeah,
same
the same level.
of
No, it's
diplomas and
exactly.
things, yeah.
We are in the same level here.
Yes.
I am an engineer. You're not an engineer at all. I
Okay.
mean, you have a PhD. Fine. I okay, but I am an engineer. I went to school.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I studied hard.
Mhm.
Why do you think I'm not? I don't know what I'm doing. It's kind of
It's
it's like,
disturbing.
yeah, disturbing. It's kind of, you have to always ask for permission or ask for someone's approval. You know, there's this feeling. Okay, oh, I'm doing this. Do you agree? Okay, fine. But no,
Yes.
I am sure of what I'm doing, and it's subtle. You know, it's not open in the air. Like, you don't know what you're doing. It's like,
Yeah.
are you sure?
Yeah.
You know,
So you can't really discuss it because
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
underground and
And if you say, oh, but this guy is being, prejudiced, are you sure?
yes, you can't even
You can't even
explain
express,
the problem. Yes.
express yourself. Yeah, I unfortunately I had a problem with one of my supervisors. But he is racist, unfortunately, for all of these students. And it was subtle. Again, in Brazil, I suffer some racism in this kind of, but not like this, because you cannot defend yourself, and being here, it's even worse in that point, because people don't understand. So if you try to explain, they say, oh no, I think you've seen things where there is nothing.
Okay.
But here, since there is no much of people expressing
It's a
themselves,
taboo.
yeah,
Yes.
maybe. So you say, he says something to me that he was racist. So maybe you interpret it wrong.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah.
it's not like that.
So what do you recommend for, people like you who are trying to do things and who encounter stereotypes? What kind of things, what kind of strategies did you develop?
Yeah, the thing is, we have to do this, but even though we don't want to do this because it's 21st century,
Yes.
we have to teach them. Unfortunately, we have to
yes.
teach them, because the case of this guy I worked with, he didn't know he was
He
doing
didn't
this.
realize. It's
He didn't
unconscious
realize
bias. Yes.
exactly. It was so intrinsic,
Deeply, yes.
exactly, intrinsic in the way he was raised, the way he sees the world. And I mean, he was raised in Europe, so for him it's normal. Say something, say certain things, that so it's fine, which is not.
Can you give an example of?
There's that one stuck with me in such a way. There was this day that we were working together and we were talking about techniques, the methodologies and stuff. And I asked him something. He said, "Yeah, we should do it like this, like that, because of this and that." I said, "Oh, that's good, but I am used to work like this, like that. We can also use this and this as parameters, no. And he was like, "Where did you learn this?" Oh, back in Brazil, we used to work like this because we didn't have this kind of technology, or didn't access to this or that. But we developed this one that is also works, whatever. And he looked at me and like, oh, your people, they have a weird things, the weird
Okay.
ways of working. And I wanted to ask him which people he works with.
Yeah. 'Cause-
Which people. I mean, I understood, but it's ambiguous.
Mm.
Like which people you're talking about? My family, my friends, my former lab. Which people you're talking about? And it was not only with me, because the people say, "Oh, Suzanne, it's personal for you. You're
Yeah.
being you
You're being
victimizing yourself."
sensitive or
Yeah.
yes. Mm.
It's not the case, because we also have we had with us another girl. She's Asian.
Mhm.
There was this seminar that was happening, and there was this guy that he was talking about something that was related to her research.
Mhm.
And during the cough break, she was talking to her supervisors, and she said, "Oh, I liked the talk of that guy. I think it will be very useful for us." And and he asked her who, and she said the name, the Asian one. And he looked at her and say, "I don't have the time to remember Asian people's name."
Okay. Okay.
And she was like, "What?" And after that, she was very hurt, because she's Asian,
Mhm.
please.
Yeah.
And for him, it was okay to say that. He didn't see anything wrong in saying these things.
But then people, so when you hear this over and over, because it's frequent, I think it's really hard for your self-confidence, and you feel like you have to fight for your work, and so that's another obstacle. I've had this for gender issues, where I feel like I have to educate people, because they make sexist jokes or things like that, and they don't realize that it's part of a bigger issue, which includes violence and things like that. And so if you add a little bit on different days with different people, then it becomes a big burden for the person. So I feel like it's important to educate, but it's very important to have strategies, I feel, because sometimes you can make people block and be mad, like, "Oh, you're saying I'm sexist or I'm racist," and they feel upset that you're saying this. And so I feel like you need to be very careful in how you teach. So do you have any?
Unfortunately, unfortunately, we cannot say. Yeah,
you have to be the one to make the effort.
Yeah. Well, one of my strategies is to question, like be assertive without the feeling of attacking them, like question, because most of the time, as I said earlier, maybe they don't realize they are saying this thing. So one thing that I do is to question in a way that make them thinking about what they just said.
Yes.
Like, are you sure about this? I mean, do you think like that? Something like that,
Okay.
depending on the situation, of course, to make them reflect on what they just said.
Oh.
And
And they realize by themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
I did that with my roommate one.
Okay.
Because we are talking about continents or something like that.
Okay.
And he said, because all the Americans, something
Yes.
in this context. And I was like, no, but I don't do this. And he looked at me like, yeah, but
he was talking about the US.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
That happens all the time. Yes. And I found very funny, because people don't realize that Brazil
America,
is also America.
America is more than just the US.
Yeah, you have the Americas, overall in general, you have the Americas. You have North America, have Central America, and South America. But if you say America, you're including me, because I'm come from the Americas too. And he bugged for I don't know, 30 seconds. He was like, yeah, but oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're from Brazil. Yeah, Brazil. So it can be light, it can be funny, and create this.
And also it's your friend, so it's easier.
That case was easier. But if you feel offended, don't teach. Don't try to cheat. Fight.
So you're vulnerable at that moment.
Exactly. Exactly.
If someone doesn't understand what you're saying, it's going to make you even more impacted.
Yeah, if you don't have a strong argument and don't feel confident to explain that or to acknowledge, don't do that. Otherwise, it'll be just a snowball to something else that we don't want that.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for that was very interesting. And so we were discussing you coming to France, but do you like things in France? What are
Okay.
what
Well,
are the
first
good
of all,
things?
I do
Yes,
like Poitiers.
you like the city. Okay,
Come on.
good, nice.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, overall, I like France.
Also, you stayed here for 4 years, so probably
Exactly.
you like
Probably
it.
there's something I like,
Hmm.
of course. Very cool. It's very cool. It's not Rio. There is no beaches and sun all the time, but it's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
5 layers of clothes, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay.
you manage the
I
cold.
can manage.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good. And so now I want to talk about something that's very cool, and that's combining both your research and your experience with Tieto into a new project. So can you
Yes, yes.
explain what's going on here?
Well, this is something I wanted to do a very long time. Actually, I think it is the base of why I got into college and then volunteering a lot and stuff like this. I wasn't happy. I'm not happy with the society I live
Mhm.
right now. It's I have this feeling that something's wrong. The way we live, the way we do things. I realize it's not a lack of information. It's lack of awareness.
Okay.
It's lack of conscientization, I would say. So this project, it's a part of me
Mhm.
with a mix of everything else that makes me me.
Okay.
So it's a sustainability and climate, which I am very engaged in, and I love very much. I have this connection with the environment, with forest. I grew up playing in the yard of my grandma's yard. For me, it looked like a jungle, so I loved it. I was always climbing on trees and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so that we have this sustainability part, climate, and in this now energy transition, but also social awareness about inequality, gender inequality to poverty. So I am starting with a blog
Mhm.
about this because I want to create a safe environment
Okay.
for us to be able to dialogue, to talk about this thing.
Okay.
I want to create awareness about this because my thoughts on it's the change needs to come from us, people,
From the ground.
from the exactly ground up, exactly. Because much of people think that the change needs to come from above, from the high government, high industries, and stuff like that. But it's not the case because we are the ones that consume, we are the ones that vote, we are the ones that living the daily lives. So
And also, we're the one who are submitted to the effects
exactly,
of this.
exactly. At the end, so we are paying the price,
Mhm.
And if we absent ourselves of the responsibility, we're going to keep suffering
Mhm.
the effects. So we should do something,
Mhm.
all of us. But I think it's a matter of mass awareness. It's not enough to say, okay, we have to change it, but someone else will do this change.
Mhm.
I've been in this mindset for so long, but I was like, okay, someone else will do the change. Yeah, yeah, no, someone else will come to save us. There is no Superman coming to save us. It's us,
Yeah.
So my goal is to create awareness
Mhm.
and open this safe space for people to talk about it, for people to get informed. We'll have resources where they can check. I want to demystify scientific research.
Okay.
Because I think for the general population, when you say, oh, but scientifically, this is so far away. This is so not for me.
A sort of fear of
Yeah,
science.
exactly. And being a researcher and also translating this to a more, I don't know, welcome language, I would say, communication.
Inclusive.
Inclusive, yeah. So I think I'm able to do this.
Okay. So you're translating science into a more understandable
Yes.
content into your
Yes.
blog.
Yes, perfect description.
And
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And you're also making sure that people can discuss it, help people talk with their friends and families about this subject.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
to their understanding from maybe your
Yeah,
articles.
yeah, yeah, and also giving tips because when we think I had this problem with the climate change, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, that I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do.
Yes. And also it feels like it's a huge
Yeah,
thing to do and you can't do it alone. And
yeah,
there's so
yeah.
many areas where you can work. So
Yeah,
it's complicated.
it's that like, oh my God, there's the pressure of we need to do something, but I am one.
Yes.
No, and you feel small and you feel like you're not going to achieve that, and then started comes the climate depression. Yeah.
Climate depression, yes.
Comes the climate depression. I can't do anything. I will stop talking, then I will stop eating. I will stop. No, if you try to do everything by yourself, and it's not the case, and you should get involved and find your tribe. Like I found mine that talk about it, and be able to express yourself, feeling that you're not going to be attacked, and able to build arguments, scientific arguments that will not only convince people but show people that this is happening, and tips, daily tips that how can you create change, how can you create a movement and without overwhelming yourself. So, and if you do this, if I have this mantra, if I touch one person and that person touch another one, we create a wave.
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to do, create a wave.
Okay. So what's the name?
It's a Rebreathe with two E's at the end, rebreathe.com.
Okay. So we'll add that in the description.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
It's a good project. I like to think.
Yeah, it sounds like a good project.
Yeah, it sounds good, right?
Sounds good.
Now, but I have to put in the work.
And so what has triggered you to say, okay, now I've been thinking about this. You said for 10 years, I want to do this project and I'm doing it alone. I'm starting from scratch. So what helped you get started on that?
Well, easy. And actually it's easy. I was doing this PhD. I came to do this PhD because I wanted to do something about environment, about climate. And I thought it was a good idea. I thought back then it was a good idea to, okay, maybe I should have a PhD on combustion, in the emissions. And that way,
like a good idea.
Right? It seems like a good idea to have a PhD in this particular topic, subject, and then go from that. But then my PhD got messy in the middle, and I realized I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, and I had I don't know if you have ever felt a feeling of wasting time.
Yes.
Like I'm wasting my time in this with something I'm not going to work with.
Yes.
And why and for what? I'm not mentally healthy. I'm getting
You
sick.
feel bad?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm getting sick by the time, and then why and for what?
So you burned out.
Yeah, I
from
burned
your
out.
PhD. Yeah.
I burned out and say enough, it's enough.
Yes.
And then I stopped my PhD in the middle, and people were like, "What?
Mm.
Why are you doing this? You're crazy." Yeah, I mean, a PhD is there; it will always be there. I can get another one if I want, but I only have this life. If I die, my project died with me. So
yes, so you need to have the project out.
Yes. So I say, no, you know what? Now I'm going to do what I really want to do, and since the beginning, I wanted to work with in the climate science and sustainability field. Why not right now? I mean, I have all the time of the world right now. Okay, I don't know if I will be alive tomorrow, but who cares? No, I cannot waste more time, lose more time with this.
So maybe it feels like your body told you,
like, exactly,
being sick, like this is not what you should be doing, because you don't want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And then because you had to stop your PhD for health reasons, you had some time to think, so time helped, I guess, also
Yeah, time
mature
helped.
your project.
Yeah, time helped.
And then you were done
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, and say, oh, yeah, it's time now because I've been like 10, 15 years projecting, like designing. Yeah, I should do that. Yeah,
Mm.
maybe, yeah, but next year I'll do it. Yeah, I
Yes.
should do that. Yeah,
And
maybe
then you
6
never
months.
have time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, but after the after thing, after that I'll be happy. You know,
Yes, I used to
after
do that a
I'll
lot.
be happy.
Yes. And
After that I'll be after the PG, after the master, after, and then my life is gone. And yeah,
and you've never done your project.
never
Yes.
done anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I decided.
And now that you
Never
got
done
started, is it easier to continue once you've done the first few articles?
Yeah, it's well, it's always harder to launch a rocket than to keep it in the air. So it takes
It's a
a
good
lot of
metaphor.
yes, no, but it's true. Yeah, actually, it's physically true. So it takes a lot of energy.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of energy and motivation. Motivation is crappy. You need something else. You know why? No, but it's true.
Like maybe someone
No,
who
accountability
can help
too.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accountability too. But
Right.
I mean, not only a motivation, like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. Like, you need a real why. It took me 10, 15 years to find my why. So it's been not hard, but it demands a lot of energy. Yes. But once you get going, it's kind of momentum. You gain
Yes.
momentum, and then you can keep going. So I'm in the middle of the hill, not right now.
Okay, in the middle of the hill.
In the
Okay.
middle of the hill, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Well, I hope you'll get easier at some point,
Mhm.
but I am not being delusional. I know it'll be hard. It would take a lot of energy to do that, and I am totally up for it.
Awesome. And so you're gonna combine in your themes both climate and social
Yeah,
issues.
yeah. My vision is to not only me, because my knowledge is limited,
Mhm.
but talk with people more about not only use a scientific base, but also experience.
Mhm.
You know,
So
people
interviews, you're gonna do
exactly.
interviews.
People that lived for that. For example, we're talking about me being an immigrant by choice, but we have, for example, other people, the climate migrants. They do not have choice. They have to leave.
Can you explain what a climate migrant is?
It's someone that, for some reason, for some extreme weather event happening in the area, in the city, in the region, had to leave their home, their house, their family.
So, for example, a drought that would make it impossible to have food in the
Yeah,
area.
like exactly. Floods, sea level rising, stuff like this, storms. So not only talking about abroad migration, but also within the country migration
Yes.
too. People need to leave. For example, we have
Their community.
exactly. We have Dhaka in Bangladesh. There is a lot of people coming from the coast because they lost everything.
Because the sea level is rising.
Exactly.
Yes.
They lost everything, and then now they overpopulated Dhaka, and they're living in the slums. So, and there is no government support for them. So not everybody knows about this and care.
Yes.
Like, it's there, it's far away, so it's not my problem. It's
Yeah.
not my responsibility.
And also, it's not common knowledge that climate change is creating social issues.
Exactly.
We usually think, yeah, there's weather events, so it's like it costs a lot of money, but it's also people's lives that are really deeply impacted.
Exactly. That's my point, to connect all these dots and create an awareness upon this, because most of it, as the example of Dhaka, people in Europe will say, oh yeah, but see, there's Bangladesh that it's floating all over. And say, but it's Bangladesh. I'm here. What is the problem with Bangladesh? I don't live there.
Yeah.
No, it's not my government.
But the thing is, you're emitting greenhouse
Exactly,
gases.
but exactly your way of life,
That
your lifestyle,
contributes.
exactly your lifestyle is contributing to the flood in that area. Don't you
So you're
realize
not
that?
not separated from the
No,
problem. You're
you are the
inside.
problem.
Well, you're not. I mean, people. I wouldn't say that like that, but You are part of a system that is the problem.
Unfortunately, we are part
and
of this.
you need to at least
Yeah.
know it. First step.
Exactly.
is know it.
Acknowledge that you're part of creating a issue. So that there is this disconnection between climate change and social problems, and that's what I'm trying to reduce this gap, giving science-based information plus other people's experience.
Testimonies, yes.
Exactly.
It's a good combination.
Yeah, it's a good yeah.
Okay, so for my last question, it's my surprise question.
A surprise question. Wait.
Yes.
Let's
Okay. So, this is from my personal experience. When I was in a very bad mental health state, I could understand some parts of me that were not that were basically immune to everything and that would still stay there even though I had suffered a lot and I had lost some parts of my personality. I would still keep this sort of core things of my personality.
Your essence.
Yes. So what's yours?
You?
Like,
wow.
what have you discovered maybe in times of difficulty that are a part of you and that helps you move forward?
Wow. Good question. Wow. Okay, I need the time to think about. Just kidding. Well, I also been through for a lot, but I also struggle with some mental health issues, and I guess, and what is part of my essence, it's my compassion, and my resilience. I would say that because in moments of difficulty, I was like, okay, I gave up. Okay, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live anymore. This is too hard, too painful. But then something inside me said, but no, no, you still have a lot of things to do. You've been through a lot. You came all the way here, and you're standing here right now. Are you going to give up? Your ancestors went through some bad shit in order for you to run today. So you're going to survive. You just have to remember who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. Just like this one, breathe.
It's so she's showing her tattoo.
Yeah,
it's a heart on her finger.
It's just to remind myself to breathe. If the situation it's not looking good, if I am not in a good place, I just and then just breathe, just stop everything and remember why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing. I guess this is my core essence, my compassion that I have to extend to myself too. From time to time, I have to remember that I have to extend my compassion to myself too, and resilience.
Okay,
yes.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That's very cool. And to finish on a lighter note, I want to tell an anecdote that you said yesterday when we got drinks.
Oh my goodness. Oh Jesus.
I feel like
are you exposing me now?
Yes, I feel like people need to know that you said that.
I didn't say that.
We were talking about dogs.
Oh my God. I should bring the dog.
Said, if a dog attacks me, I'm gonna be afraid to hurt the dog. so you're not someone who's afraid of getting hurt by the dog, but you're like, okay, I'm gonna block him and I don't want to hurt him. So this is how strong and fearless you are. So,
I mean, I know I can hurt a dog if I want to, but I don't want. I love dogs. I am a dog person. Okay. Right, Alfred, I love you. This is my dog back in Brazil. But I mean, I am afraid I'm going to hurt him. Yes. It's possible.
I mean, I don't know if many people can say that, but
yeah, maybe they were afraid.
I'm glad I know someone who gets.
Yeah, of course. They are very good, beautiful creatures. We don't want to hurt dogs. Why?
Yeah.
dogs.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Right?
Yeah.
See, you agree with me, even though you don't like
Yeah.
dogs.
No, I mean I don't like dogs.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
cannot
don't
be
mind.
friends.
I'm a cat person.
Okay,
But
fine,
yeah.
it's fine. The
Mm.
wood's very big. Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, no, thank
for
you
your
for
time.
inviting me, for having me here. It was amazing.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's fun.
it was fun.